Next time din isa. Pangit mo. Pangit ko ito. Sabihin mo. Okay, gamit cellphone mo. Ito cellphone. Ito yung mga bago dito. Saklatan. Saklatan. Saklatan itig mo dito. Ito na ito sa akin. Ululu. Ayaw mo naman dito? Ikan beto gopen. Gopen kan? Miel, ipapayag na rin mama. Miel. Papayag na rin mama mo na Miel. Hindi ka maturog, Bet. Start.
Umay 100 Islands. Shucks, ito tayo bodybuilder. Hindi abs na. Wala abs na. Pakita mo tayo abs ka rin. Abs. Abs ang puto. Ano ang tawag niya? Oxy! Ulit. Ulit ka tao. Tawan. Armor Pubg. Armor naman. Lapay. Ito kinap. Armor ko lang.
Tao, naklatang bubuka ba? Charge. Charge na up. Mat.
Aperture opening state beasts. When they saw Lucy flying over, they all roared and used their god art simultaneously. Rumble. More than 100 terrifying attacks came by at the forefront of this. Lucy could feel the massive pressure. He narrowed his eyes accordingly. He dodged the attacks. Instantly Lucy passed through the barrage of attacks. He looked at the beasts before him, sensing the approaching terrifying power behind him. Lucy's eyes flashed with hideousness. How dare you block my way? Green Jade Flash. His body sped across the sky as 6 green jade flashes appeared next to him. They created a beautiful arc in the air and cut through the beasts. Lucy looked back at their bodies in pity. They were all light orbs. His mouth twitched. He was going to remember this. Aang. Lucy only stopped for an instant, but the Grey Dragon was already less than 10 kilometers away from Lucy. His face instantly stiffened as he charged his wings of wind and lightning. Why did this boss have to chase him? He felt that some problems didn't have to be resolved with attacks. Wouldn't it be nice to sit down and have a conversation instead? Afterward, Lucy saw the huge sky-covering claw fall upon him once more. Again he dodged through the cracks. Rumble. The claw landed heavily on the ground, blowing out an extremely deep ditch. After glancing at it, he flew forward with all his force. These bosses loved abusing noobs. In just a few tens of seconds they had managed to fly for more than a few hundred kilometers. Right now the dragon was only 1 kilometer away from Lucy. Lucy could even feel its scorching breath. The closer it was, the harder it would be for Lucy to dodge its attacks. After dodging the claw twice and another gray energy cannon, Lucy was sweating profusely. It seemed that he was going to be wiped out again today. While thinking about this, Lucy's eyes went fierce. Since he couldn't get away, then he wouldn't. Even if he was going to die, it would be a feisty one. Rumble. Just when Lucy was about to stop and resist, terrifying shockwaves occurred from afar. Along with it, vibrant spirit light and terrifying shockwaves could be observed. Lucy's eyes widened at this. This Kai was the same as the Grey Dragon. It was a beast at the Overlord level. Were they fighting? The Grey Dragon behind Lucy paused for a moment and looked toward the direction of the battle. When the pressure eased a bit, Lucy quickly gave up fighting for his life and dashed off. He hoped that the Grey Dragon would join the fun, however it came after him instead. Due to this, Lucy's emotion was tangled. Why didn't you go fight people of your own size? Why chase this weak and helpless noob? He bit his teeth and had a bold idea. Although he might not be able to live, he could still try. The battle wasn't far, just a few hundred kilometers away. Now that he gained some distance, Lucy felt he could still try running a few hundred kilometers. If he ran in other directions, he would be caught soon, hence he might as well go join the fun. Report chapter. Contact 2 sitemap. Pocket hunting dimension. C326 Rabbit Boss, where is your pride? Chapter 326 Rabbit Boss, where is your pride? Lucy changed directions and headed toward the battlefield. At the same time, the Grey Half Dragon roared and followed while sending out terrifying attacks from time to time. Soon the battle was getting more and more intense. The roaring sounds became louder and louder. At this moment, Lucy could feel a number of terrifying Kai. Among them there was one coming from an old friend. He narrowed his eyes. Rumble. The sound of a collision occurred once again. Lucy was only tens of kilometers away from the battlefield. The shockwave brushed past him, then his black spirit force barrier appeared to block it. Behind him, the Grey Dragon was just a few hundred meters away from him. Every time it attacked, Lucy felt he was treading on the border of death. When the waves and spirit light cleared, he could finally see the situation within tens of kilometers ahead. There were 3 large figures surrounding a small figure in the air. Out of the 3 large figures, one was a 30-meter-tall warhorse. It was covered in black armor containing purple lightning runes. Above its head was a pair of purple crystal dragon horns. This was the warhorse overlord. The other figure was a large blue bird with 4 pairs of wings which were jade crystal in color. This was the blue bird overlord. Subsequently, there was also a black tiger that was larger than the ordinary ones. It was flashing with black crystal color. This was the black tiger overlord. Counting the Grey Half Dragon overlord behind him, the 4 overlords of this map had all arrived and gathered in one location. The person who the 3 overlords were ganging up on was Lucy too. The 3 overlords roared and used their god arts, painting the sky with their respective own colors. Meanwhile, Lucy too calmly glanced at the overlords with a smirk on his face. One could tell he wasn't worried at all. Lucy was very shocked at this scene, but what surprised him more was the Grey Dragon behind him. It turned to look at Lucy, who was before him, and Lucy too, who was surrounded by his pals. His originally domineering eyes revealed a dazed expression. Wait. Things didn't seem to be right. Why was there another 2-legged beast there? What was he chasing just then? The other 3 overlords and Lucy too also noticed the presence of Lucy and the Grey Dragon. The 3 overlords looked dazedly between the 2 figures of Lucy. Though possessing an intelligent mind, they still could not process the scene before them. Their brains could not help but crash and be stuck in reboot mode. When Lucy too saw Lucy, no ripples on his expression could be detected. His grin remained intact. Lucy felt uncomfortable watching this. He wouldn't smile so disgustingly. Afterward, another white light dashed from the distance. Soon this white light appeared on the battlefield, revealing its actual form. White furry body with a sharp horn and a small circle of yellow hair at the top. It was the Rabbit Boss. Upon seeing the rabbit, Lucy grinned. In his impression, these 4 overlords had been hunting the Rabbit Boss. With the Rabbit Boss and Lucy too here, the situation would only get more chaotic. At that moment, he would be able to escape. But then the next scene made his eyes bulge. The Rabbit Boss looked at the 2 figures of Lucy, then it proceeded to surround Lucy too. At the same time, the 4 overlords didn't hunt the Rabbit Boss, huh? Lucy. This didn't seem right. Weren't you guys fighting to the death just a few days ago? Why do you seem like good friends now? Rabbit Boss, where is your pride? Don't be a coward. Finally, a trace of emotion emerged from the eyes of Lucy too. Roar. Upon the yell of the Rabbit Boss, the battle began once again. With such a scene, Lucy finally realized the terror brought by the overlords. The sky darkened simultaneously. Lightning flashed as dark clouds appeared. This scene was extremely familiar to Lucy. It was the rune that the Rabbit Boss devoured last time. The rune back then contained lightning divine art. The divine art brought about the rise of the Rabbit Boss. Currently, the surrounding tens of kilometers turned dark under the clouds. This time the range was smaller, but the lightning snakes which were slithering in the thunder clouds gave Lucy a terrifying feeling. He probably couldn't even take one lightning. Right now his power had at least reached the level 1 of the mortal evolution state. On the other hand, the rabbit boss probably broke through level 2 of the mortal evolution state after devouring the divine art. However, that wasn't the end roar. The Black Tiger Overlord roared as black crystal covered it. Thereafter an extremely dominant Kai came out. This made Luzi sweat cold. This Overlord knew divine art too. When Luzi saw the divine art, he became surprised. Its divine art was similar to his first shield. This divine art wasn't something the first shield could compare with. As it turned out, the Kai of this fella was only a little bit weaker than the rabbit boss. 3. At this moment the blue bird overlord screamed as well. Its body became ethereal after a jade light wind surrounded it. It was another divine art. Luzi's mouth could not help twitching. He then looked at the lightning warhorse. Without a doubt this guy probably knew divine art too, right? Indeed, with a whine the horse flashed with lightning as a lightning spear spanning 20 meters materialized. Even though it stood still in the air, its Kai managed to twist the space even more. It was the same lightning spear as the ordinary lightning warhorse, but one was formed with god art while the other was formed with divine art. The Overlord on the first map didn't know divine art, so why was the Overlord on the second map this strong? He thought he would soon be able to kill these guys, but it seemed he still needed some time. Subsequently Luzi's eyes lit up since they all knew divine art. Then would they drop divine art runes after killing them? He had killed more than hundreds of ordinary god art beasts other than the first time he killed a heavily injured black tiger which dropped a low-level divine art rune. He never got one again. He didn't know whether the drop rate was scarily low or the black tiger was just a special case. Perhaps it was the Overlord child. Or maybe it was because the difference between their powers was so great that time, so the pocket hunting dimension rewarded him with a gift. From the looks of it, their divine arts were probably not weaker than the star crippling punch. Even if it was weaker, it should be.
Naka-triple na mat. Binumba anak.
Be at least on par with the green jade slash. While thinking about this, Luzi almost jumped. If he got all these divine arts, then he would probably become invincible. Wait. Since these three overlords had divine arts, there was no reason why the Grey Dragon wouldn't have one, right? Luzi stiffly turned around. He saw the Grey Dragon dart its eyes from the battlefield to him. Luzi. Suddenly the atmosphere was awkward. Luzi said, boss, why don't you go help your friends? I'll stay here, I won't run. Naturally he still failed at persuasion. Soon the grey mist surged, then the Grey Dragon charged toward him. He couldn't tell what divine art it had, but it seemed weaker than the other three beasts. Rumble. At the same time a deafening sound of collision occurred. Its intensity was enough to shock the world. Consequently, purple, black, blue, and a green light flashed. Even with just the shockwave, Lu Zi could barely stand still. At the same time, it became difficult for him to dodge the gray dragon. Lu Zi gritted his teeth as he punched with his right fist, enveloped by dark rage, toward the spirit claw that was about to flatten him. Report chapter. Contact to sitemap. Pocket hunting dimension. C327. Wait, leave me the last sip. Chapter 327. Wait, leave me the last sip. Rumble. Another clash occurred once more, but the power was much weaker compared to the other battlefield. Lu Zi took advantage of the force from the aftermath to retreat a few kilometers away. Cough. At this moment, a trace of blood spilled from the corner of his mouth. He then used his thumb to wipe off the blood. After spitting it out, he was almost out of energy. Subsequently, he looked boldly at the gray dragon and turned to run. What else could he do? Lu Zi flapped his wings of wind and lightning and planned to leave this area. At the same time, he looked at the other battlefield. He was curious about what the Overlord's powers would be after using their divine arts. On the same note, he also wondered whether Lu Zi too could hold up. This was the first time he wanted Lu Zi too to withstand the incoming attacks. If Lu Zi too died, those three Overlords and the rabbit would definitely shift their attention toward him. When the battlefield cleared up, Lu Zi could see a sliver of silver blood on the mouth of Lu Zi too, injured. However, why was this fella's blood different from his? What strange blood color was this? Where were the red blood cells? Suddenly, Lu Zi felt a terrifying cry coming from his back. His eyes narrowed. Subsequently, he instantly flashed a few hundred meters to the side with the help of his wings of wind and lightning. As soon as he moved, a huge gray spirit claw moved to trample him down. Rumble. Lu Zi moved a few hundred more meters away. He was going to run first. However, just at this time, Lu Zi could see Lu Zi too flash with bright silver light. When the silver light disappeared, Lu Zi too disappeared too, leaving behind the dazed three Overlords and Rabbit Boss. The atmosphere turned very silent. Lu Zi. Shit. That bastard ran off like that. What was he going to do now? Sure enough, the four Overlords shifted their focus upon him after the disappearance of Lu Zi too. Accordingly, he immediately turned to run. He felt he could still save himself. Before he could finish thinking, a blue light flashed across the sky. Consequently, his consciousness sunk into darkness. Lu Zi woke up in his bedroom again. His body trembled with pain. As such, he had to lie down lifelessly. This didn't make sense at all. The Bluebird boss was obviously weak. However, why was the Bluebird Overlord so strong? Lu Zi felt this Bluebird Overlord was not weaker than the other Overlords. Due to its lightning speed, it was probably the hardest to deal with. He breathed out and calmed down his mood. What in the world was Lu Zi too? Moreover, why did the four Overlords and the rabbit hunt him? After filling his head with 1,000 questions, Lu Zi calmed his mind down. The rewards this time were so bountiful that he couldn't believe it. A few hundred aperture opening state beasts and tens of god art beasts. Even the god art orbs were enough for him to use for a long time. There was also a large pile of red and purple orbs. Now he was pretty much invincible on the second map, other than the Overlord's rabbit and Lu Zi too. Following this, he sat up and started cultivating. The Overlords all had divine art. He probably needed to reach level 2 of the mortal evolution state to kill them. However, even power at level 2 of the mortal evolution state was not safe. Nevertheless, his cultivation speed was extremely fast. Upon cultivating all the god arts on the second map to perfection and improving his cultivation level and physical body, he should be fine. Early the next morning, Lu Zi opened his eyes and got off the bed. He went out and headed toward Lin Ling's door and knocked. Soon the door opened and Ying Ying's little head popped out. After seeing it was Lu Zi, a trace of joy could be noticed in her voice. Lu Zi, good morning. Lu Zi squatted down and pinched her face. Good morning, Ying Ying. Her round face was really comfortable to touch. At this moment, Lin Ling's cold voice could be heard. See, if you do this again, I'm going to call the police. Lu Zi looked up and saw Lin Ling standing with her arms crossed while wearing a black school uniform. He said innocently, I didn't do anything. Ying Ying didn't say anything too. Lin Ling rolled her eyes and carried Ying Ying. Let's go. The three flew toward Nangong Jing's place. At Nangong Jing's door, Lu Zi knocked. The door soon opened. Nangong Jing stood inside wearing white casuals. She still had a golden bottle of wine in her hands. Clearly she got this from old man Nangong. Nangong Jing grinned. Come in. Inside they saw Chuyu Hesha, who was wearing a pink robe, already lying on the couch. She came earlier than them every time. At this time Nangong Sing said, "By the way Lin Ling, I'll give you a key so you don't need to knock every day." Lin Ling nodded. Lu Zi then pointed at himself. "What about me?" The three girls looked at Lu Zi in contempt. Ying Ying didn't know why this was happening, but she imitated the others as well. Nangong Jing gritted her teeth. "I'm still a girl living independently. Why does a guy like you want my key?" Afterward, Chuyu Hesha smiled at Lu Zi. "If little brother wants to come at night, I can give you my key, Lu Zi." He just remembered this alcoholic was a girl. He forgot it, but he wasn't going to say it. Last time his head was bruised from her flicks. He did really want Chuyu Hesha's key, but if he dared to go, his fate would be extremely terrible. Hence he laughed dryly and changed the topic instead. "By the way, starting from today I'll give red orbs to the two of you each day. My power has increased and I can produce more orbs." Right after his statement, the three stared at him directly. Lin Ling frowned. This won't affect you, right?" Lu Zi shook his head. "I know what I'm doing. After yesterday he had too many orbs. He got more than 1,000 red orbs in one day."
Bots day ay. Dah. Nilang kanam. Ah shit, nag-cut man na. Okay na ano talaga.
One day he was very wealthy. Now if he wasn't still weak, he would even want to give Ian and Yu and the rest some too. However, that would depend on the situation. The more people knew about this, the riskier it would be for him. As for Nangong Jing and the others, he still trusted them. Nangong Jing fell silent. She gave the wine in her hand to Lu Zi with a painful expression on her face. "Here Jinyao Searing Sun, this is the best wine in the entire eastern region of Elf Cosmic Realm. You can have some." She turned around in embarrassment afterward. "Your energy orbs are very precious, but they are very important to me, so I won't reject it." Then she patted her busty chest. "From now on your business is my business." Lu Zi glanced at the wine and his mouth could not help but twitch. He took the wine and then Nangong Jing looked up pitifully. Zi, leave me the last sip." Lu Zi, Lin Ling, Chuyu Hesha. She was beyond help. Luzi rolled his eyes and looked at the golden liquid. He didn't drink wine, but if he didn't take it, Nandong Jing would probably feel bad, right? Therefore Luzi took it. Report chapter. Contact to sitemap. Pocket hunting dimension. C328 You always chase what you can't get. Chapter 328 You always chase what you can't get. Luzi looked at the wine and decided to try it in the end. Under Nandong Jing's painful expression, he drank it. The golden liquid flowed into his mouth and into his stomach. Then Luzi felt waves of spirit force evaporate in his body. It felt as though the sunlight shone on his entire body. It was very warm. His eyes lit up at this. It seemed quite good. At this moment he felt a little tipsy. Eventually the world started spinning and he seemed to be floating in the sky. While feeling dazed, he grabbed the couch to stop himself from falling. At the same time, Nandong Jing said pridefully, "How is it? Isn't it very good?" The spirit force inside is very calm. Even those at the aperture opening state can drink it, but it hits hard. This wine will guarantee that you will be drunk after you sober up. It can increase your mental force. This is a treasure. It is my first time sharing it with someone. Luzi. He almost went drunk from one sip. Who could take this? He was not an alcoholic. Chuyu Hesha laughed after seeing how Luzi could barely stand up right now. This is my first time seeing little brother Luzi like this. This is too interesting. Lin Ling also grinned. Ying Ying stared at the wine in Luzi's hand and placed her finger in her mouth. There was a desire in her eyes. It was as if she wanted to try it as well. You can have it back. I'm not drinking it never again. Luzi passed the wine to the three figures of Nandong Jing before him. He was never going to touch any liquid from this alcoholic. He swore. Nandong Jing looked at Luzi in disbelief. This guy wasn't going to drink it. He gave it back to her. He was a really good kid. Accordingly, she happily took it back and then took a gulp. It was such a good wine. It seemed this guy didn't know how to appreciate it. At the same time, she felt that she seemed to have forgotten something but couldn't recall what it was. Meanwhile, Chuyu Hesha pushed Luzi toward the couch. Thereafter, she slid her fingers across his red face. She said seriously, "Thank you, little brother Luzi. I will remember this like the treks. Your business is my business." Luzi rubbed his heavy head. He was about to speak, but Chuyu Hesha spoke again. "By the way, both little brother and the Trex drank straight from the bottle. This is considered an indirect kiss, right? How does it taste, Trex?" "Peask." Nandong Jing spat out the wine and coughed. No wonder she felt she forgot something. As it turned out, it was this. She was so excited about some things that she forgot. Meanwhile, Luzi's body stiffened. Immediately the atmosphere became awkward. Nandong Jing quickly said, "This is an accident. I'm drunk, so I didn't care about these little details." She didn't have any feelings toward Luzi. Furthermore, Alice actually talked to her again. This made her quite happy. However, Alice mostly asked about Luzi. She was a girl as well. She could tell that Alice probably liked Luzi. She didn't want to steal a man from Alice, whom she regarded as her little sister. Chuyu Hesha seemed very happy seeing Nandong Jing looking embarrassed. She wanted to joke even more, but Nandong Jing glared at her and gritted her teeth. "Fox Demon, if you say one more thing, our relationship is over." When she saw Nandong Jing was truly annoyed, Chuyu Hesha could only stop unwillingly. On the other hand, Luzi felt a little complicated in his mind. People always wanted what they couldn't get. If Nandong Jing argued back then, Luzi wouldn't feel so confused. However, being denied like that made him feel it more. Nevertheless, this mentality only lasted an instant. After all, he was half friends with an half-student of Nandong Jing. Meanwhile, Lin Ling looked at Luzi and then at Nandong Jing. Her eyes flashed, but she said nothing. Afterward, Luzi rubbed his head and took out 6 red orbs. "Take these red orbs first." The awkward atmosphere finally eased. Lin Ling took the 2 orbs first, while Chuyu Hesha smiled and took her portion too. Finally, Nandong Jing walked over awkwardly and took hers. At the same time, he could hear Nandong Jing's voice in his mind. "Don't mind what happened just then and don't spread it." Luzi ended up dazed. He saw that Nandong Jing didn't open her mouth. What was this? How did she do it? However, he didn't think much about it anymore and just nodded. Ying Ying's eyes bulged after seeing Lucy take out the red orbs. After the three girls took their share, she also ran over and tugged Lucy's sleeve. She looked at Lucy with her big eyes. Lucy, I wanted to. Right then Lucy had only remembered that Ying Ying was there as well. He asked her curiously, are these useful to you? The other three looked over. Ying Ying nodded. Yes, it can help me grow faster. Grow. Does that mean grow stronger? He took out two more red orbs and gave them to Ying Ying. Then Ying Ying ate the two in one gulp. Afterwards she closed her eyes in satisfaction. Nangong Jing gulped down the last bit of Jinyao Searing Sun and said, okay, let's cultivate. Energy orbs can be used in the afternoon. In the morning Nangong Jing and Chuyu Hesha still instructed Lucy and Lin Ling to cultivate. Soon another month passed. Since Lucy was the strongest other than those overlords Rabbit and Lucy too, he had been gaining at least 1,000 orbs a night. Sometimes he could even get a few thousand. His mental dimension was filled with all sorts of orbs. They were like stars shining beautifully. With his constant use of powerful red orbs, the cultivation level of his spirit force had reached the aperture opening state. With 200 apertures, he had been maintaining a speed of 2 to 3 apertures increase each day. After the constant use of regeneration God Art orbs and first body God Art orbs, his physical power alone had reached a combat power of 220 apertures. His wind God Art, lightning God Art, and regeneration God Art had no more space for improvement. Only his first body God Art still had some potential left. The black tigers were rather rare, so the first body God Art orbs he had been getting were much less than the other God Arts. In the virtual reality stage, Nangong Jing and Lucy wore black martial robes while standing opposite each other. A few kilometers away, Chuyu Hesha and Lin Ling watched the two seriously. Report chapter. Contact 2 sitemap. Pocket hunting dimension. C329, this is an insult. Chapter 329, this is an insult. Lucy would spar with Nangong Jing every day, but it was more like a teaching session. In those times he only used the power he should, he didn't go all out. However, at this time Lucy wanted to fight seriously with Nangong Jing. Since he was too strong now, the power in his body almost made him feel he was invincible. He himself didn't even know what his current combat power was at. Nangong Jing's hair fluttered as she smiled at Lucy. Kid, I can tell you haven't been using your full power to spar with me all this time. Let me see how strong you are now. Lucy also smiled. Teacher Nangong, I'm going to fight seriously. Runes flashed in Lucy's eyes as his wings of wind and lightning appeared. He flapped his wings and disappeared from the spot. In the distance, Lin Ling's eyes widened. She discovered she could only see a vague shadow. Lucy's movements appeared blurry to her. Thereafter she used her spirit eye God Art immediately. Only then could she see his movements. Meanwhile, Chuyu Hesha was also a little shocked. This speed was on par with those at level 2 of the ordinary mortal evolution state. Was this kid already this strong? How long had it been? Immediately Lucy appeared to the left of Nangong Jing. Black runes glimmered in his eyes as he clenched his fist. Star crippling punch. Rumble. The fist force roared like a dragon, but it condensed toward Lucy's fist. Then with a violent kai it rushed toward Nangong Jing. Nangong Jing clearly didn't expect Lucy's speed reached this level. There was some trace of surprise in her eyes. Subsequently, golden light glimmered in her eyes as she swung her arm and blocked Lucy's wrist. A terrifying power exploded, wanting to direct Lucy's fist force toward elsewhere. Seeing this, the force on the fist exploded and shook off Nangong Jing's palm. She grinned at this. Afterward, her right hand turned into a palm directly blocking Lucy's fist. Rumble. The stage they were at could block aperture opening state attacks, but it was now filled with cracks. The cracks stretched out a few kilometers. Eventually they slowly disappeared. The main system of virtual reality increased the power of the stage based on the level of the battle. After one class, the two retreated a few hundred meters away. Nangong Jing smiled. You've learned Star Crippling Punch quite well. Although she used the same power, she didn't expect Lucy could shake away her arm. And Lucy's attack was near the peak of level 1 of the mortal evolution stage. She was going to give the kid a good beating or she wouldn't have much opportunity in the future. Nangong Jing made up her mind. Subsequently, her long legs darted off the ground as a dominant golden light swirled around her. She instantly appeared at Lu Zi's side. Dong. A heavy explosion could be heard. She stood sharply on the ground, cracking the sturdy floor once again as her leg whipped toward Lu Zi's waist. Feeling the dominant power on it, Lu Zi's mouth twitched. Why did she like targeting his waist? His wings flapped and he retreated a few meters back, barely dodging the attack. However, the force wind still swept his waist. Still, this was no problem for him. He didn't even open his first shield. After this, Lu Zi tapped the ground and his body rushed forward. He used his palm and elbow for attack. Star Crippling Punch involved a fist, but if you learned it well enough, you could use any part of your body to unleash it. Lu Zi's understanding of Star Crippling Punch was quite deep. His mastery had been at the experienced level for a month. Rumble. Rumble. In that short instant, there were tens of clashes. The air between them spread out while the space within seemed to be a vacuum. Violent airwaves swept past even a few kilometers away. Lin Ling felt some of the intensity of the pressure from the aftermath. She bit her lips. She used 4 red orbs every day and had her great-grandpa's origin power. Her progress was extremely fast. In 1 month, her cultivation level went up by 100. Even if she didn't wear combat armor, she had a power of 600 apertures. However, her progress was still less than Lu Zi. This guy was already this strong. She couldn't even handle the shockwave. Chuyu Hesha narrowed her eyes. This kid got stronger way too fast. However, thinking about it, it seemed right. She was progressing much faster than before after using this kid's red orbs. Still, it was a bit hard to accept it. Even a young Duke prodigy didn't have such speed. At this rate, his power will probably be on par with them. Chuyu Hesha felt very complicated. She could be considered his teacher. She was happy to see him progress, but as a super prodigy, she didn't feel satisfied. On the stage, the battle could instantly destroy a small city outside. With enough time, even an ordinary planet wouldn't be enough to be their battleground. Of course, they couldn't destroy the planet, but their battle was cataclysmic for living organisms on the planet. Rumble. After another clash, Lu Zi and Nangong Jing both retreated. Nangong Jing was still calm, but Lu Zi's chest rapidly moved. He was panting a little. His stamina improved and he could use the Star Crippling Punch quite a few times now, but it was still exhausting. Nangong Jing was just using power on par with Lu Zi's to fight with him. Her real power wasn't something Lu Zi could compare with. In his retreat, Lu Zi's eyes flashed a green rune. Green Jade Slash. Wind surge turning into 10 green jade blades. A perfect mastery of Green Jade Slash was on par with an experienced mastery of Star Crippling Punch. The sharp kai emitted by the blade twisted the space as well. Lu Zi grinned and the 10 blades disappeared and headed toward Nangong Jing. He charged, and again his mental force was powerful enough so he could do multiple things at one time. Subsequently, he used Green Jade Slash and Star Crippling Punch. Of course, doing this was quite exhausting. Even he couldn't last a few seconds. However, he also wanted to see the peak of his power. He was going to be a real man for 5 seconds.
Shish!
Nangong Jing looked at the attacks and raised a brow. There was more golden light in her eyes. She tapped the ground, leaving behind stacks of shadows within tens of meters. Her hands then glowed with golden light. It was a different color, but Lu Zi knew this was the Star Crippling Punch.
Kita mo yun?
Lu Zi didn't know what movement technique she was using, but it was probably divine art. Their right fist flashed while Nangong Jing's left hand smashed toward the Green Jade Slash. Rumble. Both the fist force and Green Jade Slash exploded at the same time. Winds shot out in all directions. Lu Zi immediately felt an extremely terrifying power enter his body, striking him more than 1,000 meters away. At this moment, a Green Jade Slash cut across Nangong Jing's back. Silently, Nangong Jing, who was planning on chasing after Lu Zi, quickly dodged to the side with her divine art. Screech. The Green Jade Slash sliced across the air in the stage, leaving a mark of tens of meters behind. Nangong Jing looked at the crevice on her right sleeve and her mouth spasmed. She was a bit too confident. This month of using red orbs didn't improve her cultivation level much, but she had filled up quite some gaps. Her combat power had reached the primary stage of the planetary state. And yet the attack just then tore her sleeve. This was an insult. Lucy panted heavily. He was drenched in sweat. Seeing that his sneaky green jade slash didn't cause any damage to Nangong Jing, he became a little disappointed. Indeed, he was too new. Still, he wanted to get revenge. How long did he have to wait? At this moment, he coughed out some blood. Even though it wasn't her full power, it was still terrifying. After she used Divine Art one punch and he was injured. He used Regeneration God Art and his injuries instantly recovered. At the same time, he felt weak. These explosive bursts had drained his body. After panting, Lu Zi glanced at the dazed Nangong Jing and asked, "What's wrong?" Report chapter. Contact 2 sitemap. Pocket hunting dimension. C330 Ying Ying is really powerful. Chapter 330 Ying Ying is really powerful. Nangong Jing looked up and saw Lu Zi was covered in sweat, panting heavily. She smiled. What? Out of energy. Lu Zi nodded and smiled as well. Yeah, this is pretty much my limit. If he used red orbs, he wouldn't run out of energy, but this was the virtual reality. He couldn't use it here. After all, they were just sparring. Even if Lu Zi could use it, he wouldn't. Nangong Jing grinned when she heard the words, "Oh." She flashed before Lu Zi. A wave of aroma entered his nose, and then he felt his face being pushed towards something soft. Thereafter, a severe pain emerged on his forehead. He gritted his teeth. When he becomes stronger than her, he will wipe the floor with her. Moments later, Nangong Jing let go of Lu Zi and smiled with satisfaction. Lu Zi quickly used Regeneration God Art to recover. He then breathed out after. Seeing the battle end, Lin Ling and Chuyu Hesha came over.
Drop.
Chuyu Hesha said softly, "Little brother, Lu Zi is progressing so fast." Lu Zi asked hopefully, "What is my current combat power at?" Nangong Jing smiled. It should be hard for you to find a match at level 1 of the Mortal Evolution State. You can fight with level 2 of the Mortal Evolution State. Lu Zi gasped at her answer, still a bit weak. During this time, he always saw all the overlords together. This was probably because Lu Zi too hadn't appeared for a month. That guy didn't show himself for a long time after getting hurt. If it was just a single overlord, Lu Zi still probably wouldn't be able to kill it with his current power. He wanted to find an opportunity and try. The three. They were at a loss for words, especially Lin Ling. This guy still thought he was weak. Chuyu Hesha laughed. Haha, by the way, I want to spar with little brother Lu Zi too. Don't I surrender. It was not like he hadn't fought her before. Every time he wanted to die due to the discomfort. Unless his mental force exceeded hers, he wasn't going to fight with her again. Nangong Jing and Lin Ling looked at Lu Zi with approval. As women, they were slightly better, but they were still influential. At this moment, Nangong Jing smiled. Let's go out. The cultivation session in the morning was finished accordingly. The four left virtual reality. Coming down, the four smelled something strange. Lu Zi asked in confusion, "What is that smell?" He felt something was burning.
Ah, shit.
The other three around too with confusion. The four scanned the area with their mental force immediately. Their faces wore strange expressions. They charged into the kitchen and saw Ying Ying floating in the air as she poured a lot of iron nails into a pot with boiling water. When she saw the four, Ying Ying's eyes lit up. "You guys are done." Lu Zi looked at the black smoke and gulped. Then he said dryly, "Ying Ying, what are you doing?" Ying Ying blinked her eyes at his question and said, "I was watching cartoons and it said that when adults were doing work, children should help with housework. I wanted to cook something good for you guys." Subsequently, she looked at them as though waiting for a compliment. Nangong Jing looked at the black liquid. Her mouth could not help but twitch. "Ahaha, Ying Ying is really nice." Chuyu Hesha opened her mouth but couldn't say anything in the end. Lin Ling doubted whether she was hallucinating while Lu Zi fell silent. He was wrong. He thought Lu Li was already a bizarre case in the cooking realm, but compared to Ying Ying, she was nothing. At least what Lu Li cooked looked like food. On the other hand, Ying Ying's cooking was like demonic concoction.
Tulungan mo.
Lu Zi looked at the joyful Ying Ying and said, Ying Ying, why did you add nails?
Pinatay ko.
Ying Ying blinked her eyes at this question. I heard that humans lack iron, aren't nails made of iron? She seemed even more proud. The four ended up dazed with her answer. Ying Ying seemed to be right. They couldn't even argue. At this moment, a small hole opened next to Ying Ying. It seemed to be a wormhole. Ying Ying reached her hand inside, and after some clanking, she pulled out a gray-white stone. It appeared to be asbestos. The four watched her put the asbestos into the liquid. Immediately, the black liquid boiled even more. What was this? Is she doing a chemistry experiment? Chuyu Hesha pointed at the liquid and forced out a smile. Ying Ying, why did you add asbestos too? Ying Ying blinked her eyes once more. I heard there is calcium in asbestos. Humans need calcium. This didn't seem wrong. They watched that liquid and their hearts went cold. Could that really be eaten? However, for Ying Ying, who could even eat the three black-robed people, perhaps this was rather nice to her. Still, it wasn't so nice to them. After all, they were normal humans. At this time, Lin Ling rubbed her head and smiled. Ying Ying, what you cooked isn't really suitable for us to eat. Ying Ying's body stiffened. She looked at Lin Ling with a disappointed expression. This can't be eaten. Seeing her pitiful look, their hearts melted. Chuyu Hesha gritted her teeth with how powerful she was. Even if she ate it, it would be disgusting at most. Should she try eating it? Lin Ling walked up and patted Ying Ying's head. If you want to learn how to cook, I can teach you. We can cook for them together later. Lu Zi, Nandong Jing, and Chuyu Hesha immediately looked at Lin Ling gratefully. At the same time, Ying Ying's eyes lit up and she nodded firmly. Okay. She really did want to cook for them. Then Lin Ling shooed the three out of the kitchen. On the couch, Lu Zi saw how touched Nandong Jing and Chuyu Hesha were and rolled his eyes. Do you guys need to exaggerate like this? Can't you be calm like me? Chuyu Hesha looked at Lu Zi due to his remark. Then you can cook for yourself later. Okay, I'm actually very touched. His cooking didn't taste good at all. There was no way he would cook for himself. Nandong Jing and Chuyu Hesha rolled their eyes. At this moment, Ying Ying's voice could be heard. Add salt as you see fit. Lin Ling exclaimed. Ying Ying, don't put all the salt in. Lu Zi, Nandong Jing, Chuyu Hesha. Moments later, Lu Zi laughed dryly. I think I want to cook myself. Before Lu Zi could finish, he was stared down by Nandong Jing and Chuyu Hesha. The ruckus in the kitchen lasted until the afternoon. Afterward, Lin Ling carried out a large bowl of noodles with a petite face. Ying Ying's little face seemed to be a bit prideful. It was as though she did something amazing. When they saw Lin Ling's petite face, the three looked touched. Thank you, Lin Ling, you're the best. Lin Ling took a deep breath. We'll have noodles today. Ying Ying's cooking is not bad. The three got up immediately. Chuyu Hesha hugged Ying Ying and said with a spoiling tone, Ying Ying is the best. Nandong Jing rubbed Ying Ying's face. Ying Ying is so amazing. Likewise, Lu Zi chose to repeat their words. Ying Ying is the best. After hearing this, a happy smile blossomed on Ying Ying's face. Seeing this, Lin Ling was no longer angry anymore. Report chapter. Contact 2 sitemap.
Daritoy. Diyan eh. Na? Good. Tumutok po jetpack. Dapat dito eh. Dito ni. Putok. Dua dah. Squad dah kami, squad. Fucking nana. Ray kong lamok. Tulong. Bakal kay smoke. Naka-sniper. Smoke. Di-smoke ka. Digidayan ti kayo. Di kayo. Ito ni, umay. Di kalsadan. Tani, mas asrig. Tani side. Dito side mo. Tani, yes. Dead fire nga. Adin Kasano mo ita? Kailangan ti ko Kapag nga ang kagimatang ti ko
Ying Ying's noodle wasn't very tasty, but at least it was edible. This made Lu Zi and the rest feel relieved. After finishing noodles, Lu Zi and Lin Ling got up to leave. At this moment Ying Ying flashed with faint starlight, then she rubbed her eyes. I'm tired. Upon seeing this, Lu Zi quickly held Ying Ying, who was about to fall down. He discovered she had already closed her eyes. The four looked among each other. Nandong Jing said, "Last time when Ying Ying slept it was like this too." Lu Zi then said, "In that case we'll let Ying Ying sleep here." He and Lin Ling might go out to do missions. It was convenient to let Ying Ying stay here. Nandong Jing nodded and took Ying Ying from his hands. She smiled, "Then leave her here." Lu Zi and Lin Ling nodded accordingly. They left. Back in the dorm, Lu Zi sat on the bed. Subsequently, 4 red orbs disappeared from his mental dimension. A domineering power surged into his body, making him tremble with pain. Lu Zi frowned but didn't move. This pain was much weaker than the pain from dying inside the pocket hunting dimension. The red orbs he used were from the god art beasts. Despite so, using just one alone was not enough for him. His progress was slow. If he used 4 at the same time, his body could still handle it. He closed his eyes and used a Kai attraction chant. As his body grew stronger, the spirit force in the air became drawn toward his body, improving his spirit force cultivation level. When Lu Zi opened his eyes again, it was already dark outside. He let out a breath and got down from the bed. He proceeded to stretch. Just then the level of his spirit force cultivation increased by 2 apertures. Soon his spirit force cultivation level would reach the peak stage of the aperture opening state. After reaching 810 apertures, he would be able to enter the mortal evolution state. When his cultivation level reached mortal evolution state, what degree would his combat power rise to? Lu Zi became very hopeful. He rested for a moment and took out the food cooked by Alice for dinner. Thereafter he chatted with Luli and Alice. Because they used higher level orbs, their cultivation speed grew fast as well. Soon they might even be able to reach the aperture opening state. Lu Zi gasped at this realization. Unlike him, they received higher levels orbs, whereas Lu Zi had to kill the beast before he could get the orb, thus they cultivated even faster than him. He really wished he didn't have to move and there would still be red orbs for him. After chatting for a while, Lu Zi sat on the bed again. He was prepared to die. In the pocket hunting dimension. Rumble. A thunderous sound spread across the boundless grassy plain. Spirit light flashed as the powerful wind swept tens of kilometers. Lu Zi looked at the lifeless body of the black tiger he punched to death. Then he turned to the dense cluster of beasts. Green jade slash. 10 green wind blades appeared in the air. They sliced across light green snakes among the beasts. In a few seconds, a few hundred terrifying beasts died. They painted the grass red. Simultaneously, all their bodies fell from the sky, and upon landing on the ground, a ditch was then created. Lu Zi looked at the ground, which was filled with orbs. He harvested them and eventually left the area. 2 days later, Lu Zi looked into the distance. The 4 overlords appeared together again. He raised a brow. Could they just split off? Roar. Re. Ang. The overlords roared as they charged toward Lu Zi. In this situation, his face went cold, runes flashed in his eyes. His wings of wind and lightning flapped and he disappeared from the spot greeting the four overlords. Afterward he punched with his right fist. Star crippling punch. Rumble. The fist force turned into a deep black stream of light and smashed against the bluebird overlord at the front. 3. Sensing the danger, the overlord bluebird flashed with blue light. Its body became ethereal. It flapped its wings and easily dodged the fist force. The fist force proceeded to attack the black tiger overlord. Rumble. The fist force clashed with the crystal shield appearing on the tiger's body. Before the explosion dissipated, the four overlords charged out unscathed. The lightning dragon horse had 3 purple lightning spears before it as it roared. The spear in the shape of a triangle headed toward Lu Zi. He narrowed his eyes. Subsequently he flapped his wings of wind and lightning and dodged 2 of the lightning spears. The last one was about to hit his body, but he immediately used his first shield. At the same time he punched out again. Star crippling punch. The fist force collided with the lightning spear. Lightning and black fist force shot out in all directions as such a deep hole was created on the land due to the blast. In just an instant the lightning spear tore open the black fist force. It grew much weaker but still proceeded toward Lu Zi. In the face of the incoming attack, Lu Zi crossed his arms before his chest. His body flashed with black shield light. Rumble. Another explosion occurred. First shield was Lu Zi's weakest divine art. Even the weakened lightning spear tore through it easily, hence the spear was able to hit his chest. Lu Zi immediately felt his body was numbed. A terrifying power entered him. He could feel his body was constantly being damaged by the spear. After being assaulted by the lightning for more than 10 kilometers, a gray spirit light flashed around his body. He could barely recover after using regeneration god art. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth before he could react in time. A blue figure appeared above his head. Its huge claws with sharp wind blades reached for him. Oh shit. The bluebird overlord was much faster than him. It played this trick every time. His mouth spasmed. Afterward he flapped his wings to stabilize himself while using the star crippling punch against the huge claw once more. Rumble. In this clash Lu Zi fought evenly. The 4 overlord divine arts were different. In terms of attack the bluebird was much weaker than the warhorse. In terms of speed none of them could compare with it. Lu Zi used the force from the collision to retreat 10 more kilometers away, wanting to draw some distance between the 4 overlords. He really couldn't beat them all together. He felt like he was the boss while the black tiger was the warrior. The bluebird was an assassin. The warhorse was a mage and the gray lizard is a tank with insane recovery. With another healer they would be invincible. If there was only one overlord, Lu Zi felt his chances of killing it would be high. However, they were stuck together. At this moment he looked behind and immediately flew back. Other than the bluebird, he was faster than the other overlords. That should be enough for him to run away, but why couldn't he escape? 3. Because the bluebird overlord would stop him every time. As Lu Zi flew toward the distance, he fought once more with the bluebird overlord. The aftermath of their battle managed to destroy countless grasslands. Even countless beasts were not spared. When the shockwave swept across, they could not dodge in time. Eventually they died. Report chapter. Contact 2 sitemap. Pocket hunting dimension. C332 acting cool behind his back. Chapter 332 acting cool behind his back. In truth, Lu Zi's combat power was stronger. However, his cultivation level was much weaker than the overlords. With the bluebird stopping him, the 3 overlords managed to catch up to him. After some indescribable event, Lu Zi was back lying on the bed in his dorm. Phew. Sure enough, he was a bit weak. But his eyes flashed with light. Soon. With his progress speed he would be able to kill those overlords eventually. Nevertheless, he hadn't seen the rabbit boss and Lu Zi too during this time. Where did they go? After resting for a while, Lu Zi sat up and closed his eyes once more to cultivate. Early the next morning, Lu Zi heard a knock before he could even proceed downstairs. He felt stunned as this. Did Lin Ling come this early today? When he opened the door, he could see Lin Ling standing at the door. He knew Ian, Xavier, Zan Yuki, Tianyuan, Qianhua, and Jessica were all there as well. They all wore strange expressions on their faces. In turn, Lucy looked at them curiously. Why are you all looking at me like this? Due to the 100,000 academic credits that he lent out, they became ahead of most freshmen. After using up the academic credits, they accepted several missions. Their cultivation level was about to break through the core martial state, while their combat power was not bad among those who were at the same level. They were all at the top 10 of the first-year martial ranking. Of course, they couldn't compare with Lucy and Lin Ling. They had some guesses about this. In the morning, he and Lin Ling went to cultivate at Nangong Jing's place, so they rarely went with them to class. But when Nangong Jing and Chuyu Hesha had missions or other things, Lucy and Lin Ling would attend the class with them. They could feel how terrifying the Kai Lucy and Lin Ling released unknowingly was. Other than Chuyu Hesha and Nangong Jing, they probably knew Lucy's and Lin Ling's power the most. Tianyuan Qianhua smiled. I told you Z is immersed in cultivation and didn't mind. You guys didn't believe me, especially someone. Thereafter she glanced at Yi Mu's mouth spasmed and he looked at Lucy with disbelief. Z, it's fine if you don't go to the virtual martial city, but why don't you look at the Dawn network? There are quite some cute girls if you go get a few. Before Yi Mu could finish his sentence, Yi Mu could feel a cold sensation. He quickly shut his mouth. Zan Yuki glanced at Lu Zi. Z, someone surpassed your rank yesterday. You are not the first place anymore. Lu Zi felt stunned at this information. He then looked at Lin Ling. It had been 3 months since he went to the martial trial tower. The only person who could surpass him was her. He looked at Lin Ling in disbelief. How dare she act cool behind his back? Lin Ling felt a little awkward and glared at Lu Zi. What are you looking at? You don't go to the martial trial tower at all. A high total ranking will give you academic credits. Of course, this was not the point. Actually, the main reason was that she felt it would be harder and harder to surpass Lu Zi. Surpassing him on the ranking could help comfort herself. At this moment, Yi Mu jabbed Lu Zi's waist. Z, Lin Ling is riding on your head. Can you allow that? If she rides on you now, in the future on bed, PFF. Before Yi Mu could complete his words, he was kicked into the lake by Lin Ling Dong. In. Everyone. Lu Zi glanced at the cold-eyed Lin Ling, his mouth spasmed. How many times did this happen to Yi Mu? Even he wasn't this dumb. Of course, even if he said things like that, Lin Ling couldn't beat him. Ian dragged Lu Zi's sleeve and looked at Lu Zi. Z, aren't you going to the martial trial tower? Quite some students in Don's system are saying you are. You are incapable. Lu Zi. What was this scene? Lu Zi pulled away his sleeve and patted Ian on the shoulder. Ian, remember you are a man. Ian blushed and looked down. So, sorry, Lu Zi. Lu Zi felt dumbfounded. At this time, Zan Yuki couldn't take it anymore. She glared at Lu Zi. Don't bully Ian. Lu Zi. How did he bully him? Xavier scratched his head and said, Ian's right, a lot of people are saying you are only strong for a short period of time. Now Lin Ling has surpassed you. Of course we know that your power is definitely not weak. Jessica nodded fiercely as though she would follow whatever her boyfriend said. Tianyuan Qianhua took out her phone and projected the discussion forum. Blogs about Lu Zi and Lin Ling popped out non-stop after Lin Ling went into the martial trial tower. Lu Zi glanced and saw one blog titled, The Fallen Prodigy, the real reason why the strongest new student Lu Zi won't go in the martial trial tower. The one below was shocking. Federal University's first-year beautiful student did something that made men silent and women cry. Another one was, handsome brother Lu Zi is invincible, handsome, strong, talented, and humble. Lu Zi liked the bottom one the most. After all, only that one was speaking the truth. Other than these, there were quite some blogs about Lu Zi and Lin Ling. They were all sorts of guesses, either rise of feminism or fall of a prodigy. Of course, people argued for Lu Zi too. If one got famous, anything he did would be exaggerated. At the same time, there were also people making derogatory comments. Lin Ling was pretty and talented, so people also complimented her too. Lucy opened the blog afterward. His mouth couldn't help twitching. No wonder so many people were becoming fans of Lin Ling. She had reached the 10th place in the overall ranking, a new student getting the 10th place on the total ranking, and she was a beautiful lady. Of course, a lot of guys considered her their goddess. CEO. This blog praised Lin Ling through the roof. Lucy ended up being dumbfounded. Was this blog really describing Lin Ling or another person? Soft, gentle, understanding, caring. Lucy glanced at the expressionless Lin Ling and rubbed his head.
Patay.
So naive. If you wanted to get Lin Ling's attention, you might as well work hard in cultivation and make yourself better. Love is about mutual attraction. It should be balanced. In the end, Lucy could only shake his head. Subsequently, he opened another blog.
Ay.
I feel Lucy must have had his fortune before, but now it's used up, so his cultivation level stopped progressing. He's too embarrassed to test it. I think some accident happened to Lucy's cultivation and his cultivation fell back. Doesn't this always happen in novels? What are you saying? Are you jealous of him?
Yung
A
apple.
while ago he just came out of the Tao Enlightenment room. If he didn't go to the Martial Trial Tower, does that mean there's something certainly wrong with him? I think he doesn't care about it at all. If Lin Ling can reach the top 10, then Lucy should be stronger. Lucy almost laughed after seeing people say his cultivation level regressed. On the other hand, Lin Ling couldn't stop laughing. She had to hold his shoulder to stay still. Report chapter. Contact 2 sitemap. Pocket hunting dimension. C333 third natural wormhole. Chapter 333 third natural wormhole. At this time, Yimu crawled out of the lake. He could see Lucy watching the blog. Then he laughed. Z, do you want to go check out the Martial Trial Tower? A lot of people are talking about this. Naturally, Lucy was the strongest new student, and he reached the top 1,000 in the overall ranking upon entering the Martial Trial Tower the first time. He suppressed most of the old students. Essentially, he was in the limelight for a period of time. Now that he went silent for this long, several people felt unsatisfied. Right now, the rest of the people looked at Lucy curiously. They wanted to know his current power. Since Lin Ling could reach 10th place, perhaps he could enter the top 5. Of course, they weren't aware of the reason why Lin Ling's power had exceeded the first placer by a large margin. In truth, she was just wanted to rank higher than Lucy. They couldn't even imagine Lucy's power. After a while, Lucy rubbed his head and sighed helplessly. My brain hurts. He didn't want to act cool, but why did these people force him? Why? As it turned out, he should probably enter the Martial Trial Tower. At this moment, Yimu attempted to speak. Z. Thereafter, he shoved Lucy's shoulder. The latter looked at Yimu speechlessly. What's up, Yimu? I want to have some quiet. After Lucy's response, the expressions of the people present became strange. Lucy, what's wrong? Suddenly Nangong Jing's voice could be heard. I heard you miss me. TL note. Quiet in Chinese sounds like Jing. Lucy quickly looked up. He found that above his dorm Nangong Jing and Chuyu Hesha were floating there quietly. Nangong Jing looked jokingly at Lucy while Chuyu Hesha grinned. The atmosphere turned silent. In this situation, Lucy's mouth twitched. He laughed awkwardly. Haha, you're really funny. Clearly the other people had long seen this, so they looked strangely at him like that. He saw that they were all slightly looking down. Even Yimu only dared to take a glimpse. At this, Lucy immediately realized that Chuyu Hesha's seduction power was effective right now. Afterward, Nangong Jing said seriously, okay, the joke stops there. There are missions. Z and Lin Ling come with us. She glanced at Yimu and the rest of the group. Your powers are still too weak. This mission is a bit dangerous. You guys can go to class. Lucy and Lin Ling flew toward Nangong Jing and Chuyu Hesha. Watching the 4 to 6 people below looked among themselves. Yimu asked curiously, seeing how serious teacher Nangong and Choa were. Did something happen? Zan Yuki shook her head. I don't know, but with Lucy and Lin Ling's power they should be fine. Tian Yuan was said. If it is something major, then the school would definitely report it. After all, the Dawn system students were very strong. They were stronger than most defense forces of the solar system. Ian frowned with disappointment. He said, "It seems we are still a bit weak." They were already very strong among first-year students, but compared to Lucy and Lin Ling, they were much weaker. They didn't even have the right to participate in the same missions as them. The 6 people fell silent. They became unsatisfied. Moments later, Xavier laughed. "Let's go cultivate." The group nodded and went to class. Lucy and Lin Ling went into Golden Swirl, which was floating above the clouds. Subsequently, the ship left planet Venus. Lucy couldn't resist asking, "Teacher Nangong, what happened?" After hearing his question, Nangong Jing explained, "It's another natural wormhole. It's the third one." Lucy and Lin Ling were a little shocked at this information. Lin Ling frowned. "Sister Jing, are you saying this is the third? Did that mean there were 2 more previously?" Lucy said, "The incident in Beulah's system was one right. Where is the other?" Chuyu Hesha and Nangong Jing glanced at each other. A strange expression crossed their faces as they looked at the two. Chuyu Hesha grinned. "You have actually been through all 3 of them." What? Lucy and Lin Ling felt dumbfounded learning this news. Nangong Jing smiled. "The first was the 3 Black Robe people. When we sent people to investigate, there were residues of natural wormholes." Lucy. Lin Ling. Natural wormholes usually didn't appear for years, and yet they encountered all 3 within a span of 3 months. Lucy asked, "Is the situation quite serious this time?" Nangong Jing frowned and nodded. She explained, "It is not small and is connected to the void space. A few thousand void beasts came. 3 of them possess planetary state power. There are several mortal evolution state void beasts." Chuyu Hesha added, "The troublesome part is that it appeared next to a medium-sized residential solar system Zigui system. There are 12 inhabited planets. This was quite a massive residential system." Nangong Jing rubbed her head. "This system is well developed financially, but that's it. The commander of the defense force is at level 6 of the mortal evolution state. Other than him, there are only 14 high-level mortal evolution state defense forces. They can't stop this group of void beasts alone." Lucy and Lin Ling. No matter how many mortal evolution state beasts came, it was useless against planetary state void beasts. This entire system might end up being destroyed. The only way was probably to escape through a flying ship, Chuyu Hesha said. "The void beasts appeared on a habitable planet. It has only been half an hour since we received the news that planet has no living beings left. 4. Half an hour and a planet was destroyed. This speed was too terrifying. An insignificant number of humans could have escaped." Then Lucy said, "The other planets should be rather safe, right? Even planetary state void beasts needed some time to fly between planets." Nangong Jing smiled bitterly at this question. "Void beasts are different from humans. They live in the void space. When they reach the planetary state, they can use warp tunnels. They can't go far, but it's fine to move about within a system." Lin Ling frowned. "That means..." Chuyu Hesha confirmed her suspicions. Yes, those 3 planetary state void beasts would open warp tunnels regardless. If the planet was inhabited, void beasts would go over. Nangong Jing's eyes turned sharp. "The defense force of the system is holding the void beasts off. Quite some powerful beings are coming over. If we travel at all costs, then we can arrive in a day." Chuyu Hesha said with pity, "Too bad Ying Ying fell asleep yesterday otherwise." This topic was heavy. There were no ifs. Nangong Jing shook her head. "Okay, the human race had always relied on ourselves. It is not like we can't solve this problem. Rest up, there will be a huge battle soon." Lin Ling and Chuyu Hesha went to their rooms, but Nangong Jing still sat on the couch drinking. Lucy got up and said, "Teacher Nangong, we're going to fight. Don't get drunk." Nangong Jing rolled her eyes. "It's not Jinyao Searing Sun. I won't get drunk." Bringing this up, Lucy and Nangong Jing recalled their indirect kiss yesterday. The atmosphere turned a little awkward. Nangong Jing glanced at Lucy. "You're not allowed to speak of it." Lucy nodded. Did she really hate him? Then he asked, "By the way, where did you learn your telepathy?" Nangong Jing looked at Lucy strangely. "You can buy this telepathy technique." Lucy. He had never even seen it before. Nangong Jing rolled her eyes and took out her phone and sent a file to Lu Zi. I sent it to you, go learn it. Lu Zi grinned. Thank you, Teacher Nangong. Since Nangong Jing didn't mention anything about academic credits, Lu Zi didn't ask about it. Report chapter. Contact to sitemap. Pocket hunting dimension. C334 I have to battle. Chapter 334 I have to battle. Back in his room, Lu Zi opened the document and started learning telepathy. It was just a secret technique, so it wasn't very difficult for Lu Zi. Accordingly, he just used a purple orb and spent a few hours learning about it. Thereafter, he started cultivation using red orbs. Zigui system was a galaxy with 3 stars, 46 planets, and several asteroid belts, as well as cosmic dust. It was much larger than the solar system, Tellan system, and even Dawn system. However, there were countless solar systems bigger than this in the Milky Way galaxy. One of these 46 planets was covered in ashes and fire. This huge planet seemed like a crumbling ball. It was cut with deep marks and shifting plates, causing the ground to tremble constantly. Cities were turned to ruins, forests were turned to scorched earth, the ocean water flowed through the cracks toward other regions. In the end, the entire planet became deformed. At this moment, the air was covered in dark clouds and lightning. It was like doomsday. No, actually, it was doomsday already. This planet was covered with a few thousand hideous-looking void beasts. Most of them were tens and hundreds of meters long. There were also ones over 1,000 meters long. At the same time, there were 3 that were over 10 kilometers long. They were covered in thick black armor and had 6 pairs of sharp claws. Their foreheads also had one extremely thick horn. Every place they passed by, the ground cracked, the air burst while the ocean water moved away. It was as though the entire planet was shaking. While seeing this planet sink into its death, the 3 beasts roared, causing a huge tsunami. The sound traveled through the entire planet. All those void beasts immediately flew toward the 3 void beasts. At the same time, they swiped in the air, forming small wormholes. These wormholes could only reach small distances, but that was relative to the entire universe. In truth, the void beasts could still reach other planets through these wormholes. Not far from this planet were dense clusters of ships. There was one huge mothership and then countless smaller ships. The largest mothership had a broad meeting room. The atmosphere here turned dead silent. The screen was playing the scene wherein the planetary state void beasts opened the wormholes. After seeing the dense cluster of void beasts coming, the expressions on their faces turned bad. The black-haired middle-aged man who was sitting at the front said, had a pale face, "How is the evacuation going?" The younger man on the side answered shakily, "Time is too short and there are limited numbers of flying ships. It had only been half an hour. No planet in this system was safe. If you wanted to evacuate, you would have to leave this solar system." However, it took flying ships to evacuate a solar system. Who would have thought a disaster of this scale would occur? Where could they find this many ships to evacuate 12 planets and its tens of billions of people? No, it was 11 now. How could they transfer them at this moment? The middle-aged man gritted his teeth. Prepare for battle. Other than the necessary pilots on the ship, all other defense forces should head to other planets to annihilate the invading void beasts. This battleship will draw the void beasts on the planet to space. We must not allow them to go to other planets. Moments later, he breathed out. We must not allow these 3 planetary state void beasts to go to other planets no matter what. The room became dead silent. Drawing away the planetary state void beasts meant 100% death. They were terrifying beings capable of truly destroying a planet at any given time. Meanwhile, they were just ordinary defense army people. Still, if the planetary state beasts went to other planets, the entire planet would be pretty much destroyed. The middle-aged man said, 5 hours we need to hold off for 5 hours and Lieutenant General Mulan can arrive. Other than the Lieutenant General, there are other powerful beings making their way over. Dawn system has also sent some students and teachers. We just need to hold off for 5 hours. Get ready, our families are there on the other planets. Yes. Soon the large ship moved and the troops were mobilized. Manless warships went to the broken planet. All sorts of spirit-powered cannons fired particles toward the planetary state void beasts. However, the cannons could only leave a trace of a mark on the scale of the beasts. The planetary state beast sensed something and looked at the manless ships. Immediately all the ships blew up. At this moment 3 beams of light shot down from the universe onto the 3 beasts. Rumble. The earth cracked and the shockwave swept over more than 1,000 kilometers. Several of the approaching void beasts nearby died on the spot. Woo. 3 angry roars reverberated at this time. Thereafter the planetary void beasts charged out of the explosion range. An enormous wound appeared on their tough scale. At the same time black blood gushed out from it. Nevertheless, such a wound wasn't very serious for beasts at the planetary state. Their eyes turned red and their agile figures disappeared from the spot. A middle-aged man commander in the mothership quickly ordered, "Go into warp travel, take them away." At this moment a huge claw shifted out from the void and smashed heavily against the shield. The shield flickered but eventually held still. Accordingly, the people in the ship felt relieved. The young soldier said, 3 seconds to warp travel. Before he could finish, the ship shook violently while blaring warnings went off non-stop. A planetary void beast appeared from a wormhole and shot a cannon from its mouth toward the shield. Rumble. Upon collision, the shield flickered and disappeared after a few seconds. When the third void beast appeared, a few kilometer-wide energy cannon shot toward the ship. After the explosion, the mothership was obliterated into pieces. In other locations, a few large motherships watched this scene. People's eyes were red. They could only grit their teeth right now. Their fellow soldiers just turned to dust along with the mothership. Afterward, all ships projected the voice of the black-haired middle-aged man. Hold them off at all costs. Just hold them off for 5 hours and our mission is complete. This was a battle with a guaranteed death, but they had to do it. Behind them were their families and countless human beings. 18 hours later, in the room of Golden Swirl, Lucy opened his eyes and got off the bed. During this time he had been using first body god art orb non-stop. His east body god art was pretty much near perfection on the second map. However, his star crippling punch didn't improve any further. It would still need some time to reach perfect mastery. Subsequently, he opened his room and walked out. He could see Nangong Jing and the others were already there. The atmosphere was stern. Nangong Jing said, "You came out at just the right time. We are almost there." Lucy walked over and sat next to Lin Ling. He asked curiously, "How is the situation now?" Nangong Jing frowned. Not too good. Those 3 planetary state void beasts are stalled by Lieutenant General Mulong, who was on break. However, he just reached the planetary state recently. It is a bit hard for him to take on 3 planetary void beasts immediately. His situation is not too good. Moreover, due to the scarcity of flying ships, quite some citizens were not able to evacuate. Several powerful people made their way over, and with the defense force it can only be said that the situation had not reached the worst yet. Report chapter. Contact 2 sitemap. Pocket hunting dimension. C335 Captain. Are we still charging? Chapter 335 Captain. Are we still charging? Nangong Jing smiled. But we don't need to worry about the planetary states. We just need to kill the void beasts invading the planets. At this information, Lucy asked, "What about those planetary states then?"
1v1 shit, let's go.
Chuyu Hesha smiled. "There are planetary state people coming over. Even a planetary state teacher from our school is coming. They should be here soon." Lucy nodded at this. The planetary state was the major player. Star states had either left the Milky Way galaxy to look for ways to become stronger, or they can't leave the battlefield. As for the 4 sages, they each have places they needed to guard. Unless it was something very major, they wouldn't leave their post. Half an hour later, the flying ship left the warp dimension. Upon looking outside at the enormous Zigui system, they could see flashes of light. Nangong Jing took a deep breath and said, "We'll go to planet Nanshu where the situation is the worst. There are 14 mortal evolutionary beasts and hundreds of other ones." The others nodded accordingly. The ship entered a short warp travel. In Jing City on the southern hemisphere of planet Nanshu, more than half the high-rise buildings of the area had crumbled. Ruins were the only thing left behind. Outside, void beasts roared non-stop. 11 huge void beasts floated in the air. Around them was a fleet of drone ships that attacked them, attempting to draw their attention. Further away there were 30 more battleships harassing these beasts. The entire planet had a few hundred void beasts. Some of them had been led away by the defense force while some were killed by powerful beings. Those beings have moved to other cities. However, no one has helped this city yet. The defense force needed to stall out these void beasts. However, these void beasts were at the aperture opening state and the drones were getting destroyed non-stop. A middle-aged man wearing black battle armor roared on a warship. Do we have more drones? We almost can't keep their attention anymore. Captain, we're out. Same here. Me too. The man's face looked bad without the drones to distract these beasts. Those monsters would definitely destroy Jing City. Most citizens had gone to underground emergency shelters, but they weren't designed for void beasts at the level of aperture opening state and mortal evolution state. In that case, the man sweated even more. He clutched his pilot handle. After a while his eyes flashed. At this moment a surprised and joyful voice came out from the communicator. Captain, I still have some. The man cursed upon hearing the words, then hurry the F***CK up and release it. Thereafter the voice cried, but there is only one. The man's body stiffened, his smile disappeared. Moments later he took a deep breath and roared, F***CK, if there's only one ship then why the F***CK did you say it? Then the man suddenly smiled. There are no drones, you know what is next, right? The communications fell silent. Of course they knew what would happen. Subsequently the one who said he still had a drone cried out, Captain, I don't want to die, I'm the only child in my family. The middle-aged man rubbed his nose. Little bastards, I have trained you guys like dogs. Today I'll give you another demonstration. He took a deep breath. I'll charge first, you guys. Charge as you wish. Remember, the goal is to draw their attention elsewhere. The middle-aged man smiled. My wife and daughter are in Jing City, you bastards know right. I'm scared of dying, but a man has to protect his family, right? If something happens to me, you bastards help me watch them, don't let them get abused. Another voice could be heard at this moment. I'll be second, you guys know my situation. My parents died at the border, so I don't have anything left. I'll be third. Then I'll be fourth. Kid, you still have a drone that can substitute you. The youth became stunned after hearing this voice. His heart beat faster. Who would want to die? He just graduated from university and came to serve at the defense force. He thought that it would be much easier than going to the border. Who could have known this would happen? He still had his youth. He wasn't married and his parents were waiting for him. If possible, he really didn't want to die. His teammates knew about his situation. They could understand him, don't they? At this time he opened his mouth with a coarse voice. He said, I'll be last. He then smiled. My parents are young. The compensation system of the Federation is very good. Perhaps they can have another child better than me. In the distance the number of drones was diminishing substantially by the minute. They tried to draw the beasts to other places, however they were eliminated before they could run. These were 11 aperture opening state void beasts after all. The middle-aged man looked at the drones. His face was pale. He was only a corps martial state. Of course he would be scared. Thinking about his wife and daughter, his eyes looked firm. He roared, everyone listen up. I'll count to 3. I'll charge, then you guys go. Yes, Captain. 3, 2. Suddenly a flash of green and purple light appeared among the 11 aperture opening states. With him came a few meter-long wind blades that appeared like green jade stones. They instantly sliced across all the bodies of the aperture opening state beasts. These void beasts suddenly exploded in the air. Dong. Thereafter the bodies crashed heavily onto the ground. As such the sound struck heavily on the hearts of these soldiers who were prepared to die. Everything happened so quickly the man couldn't even react in time. He then continued with his counting and roared. 1. When he finished shouting, he felt dumbfounded. Why did I yell 1? The other teammates felt dazed. Suddenly a being instantly killed those extremely powerful aperture opening state void beasts. In turn, they didn't know what to do. Right now the void beasts were dead, but the captain made an order: should they still charge? One voice could be heard at this time. Captain, are we still charging?
Nag-smoke lang ako.
Captain, report chapter. Contact 2 sitemap. Pocket hunting dimension. C336, can you guys die for me? Chapter 336, can you guys die for me? Luzi looked down at the bodies of the void beast, then he shifted his gaze toward the city. It still wasn't heavily damaged yet at this time. Planet Nanchu had a diameter of nearly 100,000 kilometers. The circumference of the equator was over 500,000 kilometers. Clearly it wasn't very small. Even at his current speed of over a few kilometers per second, more than 10 times the speed of sound, it still took time to circle the planet. As soon as Golden Swirl arrived at the planet, Luzi and the rest split off. Nangong Jing and Chuyu Hesha mainly dealt with the mortal evolution state void beasts, while Luzi and Lin Ling took care of the aperture opening state beasts. At the same time, Nangong Jing gave them each a military communicator. It had every rescue signal on the planet.
Good, anak pa eh.
This place was the first wave Luzi dealt with. These void beasts were stopped outside the city. Obviously, it was due to these warships. He looked at the warships but didn't go over to say his greetings. His wings of wind and lightning flapped. Afterward, he flew off. Right now he needed to deal with other void beasts. He should not waste time with how serious the situation was. Whether it was the martial arts side of the Federation or the Dawn Network, the missions had been published. People were making their way over. After seeing Luzi leave, the soldiers fell silent. At this moment the drone soldier said, "That seems to be Lieutenant Colonel Luzi." Right. As a young person, he spent most of his time on social media. Of course he had seen Luzi's combat video. He was an 18-year-old lieutenant colonel. Countless people had considered him their idol. But a while ago, that was 11 aperture opening state void beasts wasn't his power at the primary stage of the aperture opening state. Did he just instantly kill 11 aperture opening state void beasts? He almost thought he recognized the wrong person. Did Luzi have a big brother? The other people felt stunned but joyful. They survived now. The captain felt relieved and slunk into his chair. He didn't have to die and could go back to see his wife and daughter. What else could make him happier than this? Thereafter he smiled. Luzi is a student of Federal University. Since he is here, then the Dawn Systems people should be here. The pressure on us will be much relieved. He looked up worriedly in the sky. I wonder how the 3 planetary state void beasts are. A few thousand mortal evolution state void beasts couldn't compare to the 3 planetary states. However, they were too weak to solve this problem. Let us tell the brothers and sisters and other teams about the arrival of the Dawn Systems people. Tell them that they will be saved soon. A few hundred kilometers away in a spacious forest, 8 powerful beings were fighting 9 aperture opening state void beasts. There were men and women wearing custom armors. They weren't soldiers, instead they were adventure squads. The martial arts site mission would give federal contribution points. The people nearby would come even if it was just for the rewards. Rumble. The battle turned extremely violent. The surroundings were being destroyed. 10 kilometers from them there were tens of warships using all sorts of energy cannons to harass the beasts. However, this firepower was too weak to deter the aperture opening state void beasts. Most of them couldn't even land. Roar. At this moment the aperture opening state humans panted. Their faces were bad. These 9 beasts were too strong. They could only passively defend up until now. The golden short-haired man at the front spoke. Change of plans, hold them here and wait for assistance. The other people nodded in return despite their unwillingness. At this time a silver spear ray instantly pierced through the 3 aperture opening state void beasts. Their tough armors were weak like bubbles against the spear ray popping with the slightest contact. These 8 adventurers widened their eyes and looked at the falling void beasts in disbelief. Beasts at the aperture opening state with 500 apertures were instantly killed. Which powerful being came? The 8 looked at the direction of the spear ray. 10 kilometers away a figure wearing a white armor left. She had fluttering short hair and a beautiful side profile. She soon headed. Off. The adventurers and the defense soldiers felt dazed. When the remaining void beasts roared, they finally woke up from their stupor. The short-haired middle-aged man grinned at this turn of events. Kill them, we don't have to hold them off. In the air, a void beast of a few thousand meters swirled behind it was a dead city ruins. At this moment, a faint gold figure suddenly appeared before it. Nangong Jing glanced at the ruins, her eyes flashed killing intent. Roar. The roar of the void beast blew away the clouds in the sky, its huge body flashed with dark gray spirit light. Subsequently, Nangong Jing punched. Ang. Like the roar of an ancient beast, the golden fist force turned everything in its pathway to dust. The fist force shot out of the planet and the body of the huge void beast disappeared. Afterward, she glanced at the ruins with a trace of sadness and flew off. In a huge city, 15 void beasts who were a few hundred meter long and a few thousand meter long floated, their bodies covered the skies. The two military uniformed beings looked at the largest void beast with an ugly expression. The black-haired youth on the left smiled bitterly. Brigadier General Nora, we don't seem to be a match for it. It is this big, it probably has power at level 5 of the mortal evolution state. We should have kept some people here. The brown-haired middle-aged man on the right rubbed his face. I have wind god art, I have some confidence. When it comes to speed, I will bring these animals away, so you should guard this place. Just when the youth was about to nod, a pink light flashed over and appeared before the beasts. The slender figure with pink hair made the two shocked. The void beasts also calmed their roars down, glaring at the newcomer. Chuyu Hesha flicked her long hair, revealing her snow-white side face. With a seductive voice, she said, "Am I pretty?" Thereafter, the eyes of the void beasts turned blank, their heavy breathing became lighter. At the same time, the two men behind her nodded like chickens. Chuyu Hesha grinned. "In that case, can you guys die for me?" All the void beasts, including the mortal evolution state one, flashed with spirit light. Consequently, their life force dissipated and they fell from the sky. Thud. The landing struck the hearts of the two men. They sweated cold and looked at Chuyu Hesha, feeling stunned. Soon they quickly looked down. This woman was a demon. She didn't even target them, but they were still affected. Despite not seeing her face, they knew who this was. City charming young duke. Chuyu Hesha glanced at the two but didn't speak. She quickly left. Boring. These two were at least at the mortal evolution state, however they weren't as interesting as little brother Luzi. After she disappeared, the two men felt relieved. The youth smiled bitterly. Chuyu Hesha is indeed terrifying. The brown-haired man shook his head. "I'm old now, I really can't take this." Report chapter. Contact 2 sitemap. Pocket hunting dimension. C337 persuading you to be nice. Chapter 337 persuading you to be nice. Luzi's wings flapped upon seeing the rescue signals from the communicator. One of the signals came from the northwest of his current location, which was only 3,000 kilometers away. With his speed, he should be able to reach the place sooner. After taking a deep breath, he sped up even more. Soon Luzi was closely approaching the location of the signal. He was only tens of kilometers away. He looked up to scan the surroundings ahead. A mountain range was before him. Most of the peaks had collapsed at this time. Other than peaks, the earth received some damage too. It was filled with numerous holes. Perhaps a dreadful battle occurred in here. Luzi raised a brow. Eventually he arrived at the battlefield. He landed on the ground and looked around. A few kilometers deep holes were etched throughout the land, coupled with the collapsing mountain walls and fractured ground. The area before him appeared to be a wasteland. Most of the regions were filled with pools of blood, both red and black. At the same time, waves of battle could still be felt in this region. The unique, chaotic, violent cry of the void beasts remained in the air. Luzi frowned. It seemed he came late. He didn't know if those people asking for help ran away or were eaten by the void beasts. He looked at the device again and planned to go to another place. At this moment, the hairs on his back stood up. He could feel a trace of coldness. Subsequently, his wings flapped. Instantly, he shifted a few hundred meters to the left. Screech. A sharp sword ray struck at where Luzi was just now. This sword ray expanded on the ground for more than tens of kilometers. In the distance a hill was even sliced in half. Lucy turned around and looked at the three people who appeared in the air. If it weren't for his accumulated experience in entering the pocket hunting dimension all the time and hovering constantly between life and death, from which he built his strong vigilance, the sword a while ago would have sliced him in half. He almost died. Let me see who wanted to kill me. Those three figures seemed to be between reality and warp dimension, slowly emerging from the warp dimension. Two men and one woman. They weren't too old. One of the men had long green hair and was rather handsome. The other had spiky golden hair and looked ferocious. Meanwhile, the woman had dark red hair. Her body was very voluptuous and she was extremely beautiful. She was wearing revealing clothes. Her dark red hide armor only covered her chest and buttocks.
Natay.
The three studied him. Thereafter the beautiful woman laughed. Conan, your sword isn't too good. You couldn't even take care of a little brother. The eyes of the golden-haired youth became more ferocious at her remark. It was just a casual attack. Many people can dodge it. The green-haired man smiled. It was just one mistake. Fire stopped playing with Conan. Subsequently, Fire smiled. It was just a joke. Jace, you're still so serious. At this moment, Lucy coughed. Who are you three? Were you planning to kill me just now? As it turned out, the people who came here to help were killed by you guys, right? He became curious about who these guys were. They had such power at this age. Their talent shouldn't be bad. Why were they trying to kill him, though? He was a prodigy from the Federal University. If he died in a strange manner, they would be caught if they were still a Federal citizen. Fire giggled at his question. Ha ha, we know you're that Lucy, aren't you? A lieutenant colonel is a new student. You're very amazing. And you could use your power at aperture opening state with 200 apertures to dodge Conan's casual attack. You're even stronger. Then she smiled. By the way, Conan used to be in the military too, didn't he? Lucy's eyes widened at this. He could see Conan's face growing colder. Lucy asked in confusion. You used to be, but not anymore. Conan's killing intent burst out upon hearing this. He grinned. You want to know? Lucy nodded. Upon seeing this, Conan grinned. Because I played with a woman and accidentally killed her. The military wants me to go to the military court. Ha 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 ha. Conan laughed hysterically and then his smile receded. Why? Did I not have enough military merit? Did I not kill enough blade demons? Why? Without our bloodbath battles, can those lowly citizens in the inner region live that peacefully? Without us, did they dare to go on the battlefield? It was just a woman. Did they need to do this? I'm not gonna fucking play this game. Since there's no good in protecting the Federation, I'm just going to live how I like. Lucy scratched his head. This topic wasn't suitable for him. He was just an innocent kid. However, this guy thought he could do whatever he wanted just because he had some merit. If that was the case and every soldier broke the law, the Federation would collapse. Fire giggled. Little brother, we have a far better and stronger life and power than ordinary people. Why not pursue getting stronger and then eternal life? You're so talented, you should come and play with us. Lucy was speechless at her offer. She tried to drag him in too. Lucy pretty much understood what they were. They probably belonged to some underground force. But why were they here? The green-haired man smiled. There's an ancient saying, people who don't act in their self-interest are destroyed by the heavens and earth. Lucy scratched his head and laughed awkwardly. Green-haired brother, the saying actually doesn't mean that. It means that you must cultivate your inner mind during cultivation. If not, the heavens and earth will not tolerate you. At his remark, the atmosphere turned very awkward. Jace's face went a bit red. He wanted to show off his knowledge. In the end, he was slapped in the face. Lucy sighed. So three big brothers and sisters be kind. Conan sneered. Kind? Why should I? Just because you told me to. At the same time, Fire sighed. Little brother is so handsome, what a pity. Jace took a few steps back and his smile disappeared. He looked coldly at Lucy. How dare Lucy slap his face? Intolerable. Lucy smiled at the three afterward. His wings of wind and lightning flapped. He disappeared from his original spot and appeared before Conan. Black runes flashed in his eyes. He clenched his right fist as dark rays surged. Consequently, he punched heavily. Rumble. A dragon roar-like sound occurred. Conan did not have enough time to meet the blow. He could only block with his long sword. His power surged as gold light flashed. It had the power of metal god art. The fist force struck the long sword. Upon collision, the sword bent into a huge arc. The terrifying power blasted Conan a few kilometers away toward a distant hill, thrusting him deeply into the mountain. The atmosphere became silent. Fire and Jace looked at Lucy with shocked expressions. Their bodies became tense and vigilant to prepare for another sudden attack. This wasn't right. They knew about Lucy, that's why they dared to talk to him for so long. 3 months ago, Lucy was only just at the aperture opening state. Meanwhile, they were rather strong among those at level 1 of the mortal evolution state. If they knew about Lucy's real power, they would have run already. At this moment, Lucy smiled at Fire and Jace. There is no point in talking, I'll speak with my fists. Report chapter. Contact 2 sitemap. Pocket hunting dimension. C338. Have you eaten, sister? Chapter 338. Have you eaten, sister? Upon hearing Lucy's words, Fire's and Jace's Kai burst out. Fire was covered in bright red flames, while green light surrounded Jace. The light was brimming with life force. At this moment, Lucy glanced at Jace. Wood god art. No wonder this guy had green hair. It turned out to be the symbol of his power. Clank. A golden sword ray burst out of the mountains and headed toward Lucy. At the same time, Fire and Jace used a huge fireball and vines respectively. Lucy grinned in the next moment. His body was covered in first shield. Black rays surged around him as he used Star Crippling Punch. All the vines were soon shattered. On the other hand, Lucy greeted the fireball with his left fist and the sword ray with his right. Rumble. 2 shocking explosions occurred. The shockwave swept across the surrounding hundreds of kilometers. At the same time, the entire mountain range shook, peaks cracked while the earth sunk. Subsequently, Lucy appeared before Fire. He grinned and hit her exposed stomach heavily. The terrifying power sent her body flying more than 10 kilometers away. She spat blood as her entire body was forcefully thrown toward a distant mountain. Jace was planning to help her when the corner of his eye saw a figure appear next to him. A terrifying power soon came along with it. Lucy whipped his leg towards Jace's waist. Jace saw that he didn't have enough time to dodge. He tensed up as a green barrier appeared. He used both hands to try to block Lucy's leg. Rumble. The leg and the barrier clashed in just a second. The latter was broken. Lucy's leg landed heavily on his arms. Bone cracking sounds could be heard upon this collision. Jace was forced out for more than 10 kilometers. Just when Lucy was about to chase up, a golden light flashed. Suddenly Conan was already at Lucy's side. His Kai was ferocious and his eyes were filled with undeniable killing intent. His wrists turned. Subsequently, the long sword cut toward Lucy. The current sword rays were much sharper than the one before. Lucy raised a brow. This guy had some power. While thinking this, he reached out to grab the sword ray with his bare left hands. Crack. The sword ray dispersed into golden light. Conan was originally proud of the strike he let out just now. However, upon witnessing its dispersal on Lucy's hands, his eyes could not help but bulge immediately after a fist that was flashing with dark rays struck his face. Rumble. Lucy smashed Conan's head into the ground. At this attack, Conan's limbs struggled. Lucy grinned. He raised his fist and struck once more. The ground shook heavily as cracks extended out. Even rocks kept rolling off the mountains. This time, Conan's limbs finally fell down powerlessly. In the distance, Fire and Jace came out of the mountains. Fire covered her stomach. Blood seeped out of her mouth. At this moment, her face was extremely pale. At the side, Jace's hands slunk. His face became pale too. However, he had wood god art. Although it doesn't have strong offensive power, it still had good healing effects. A green light flashed on his arms. The broken arms slowly started to recover. When they opened their eyes a while ago, they witnessed Lucy punching Conan's head for the second time. After seeing this, their pale faces went even paler. The two glanced at each other and flew off. There was no way they were going to help Conan in this situation. They could give up everything in the world except for themselves. Lucy grinned at their attempt to flee. How could those two be his opponent in terms of speed? Subsequently, he grabbed Conan's leg and used his wind and lightning god art. Conan immediately started shaking like the blade demons. Last time, all his spirit force and physical power were sealed by Luzi. Luzi was extremely fast. The faces of the two went deeply pale after sensing the approaching Kai. They said at the same time, "Run in separate directions." Fire went right while Jace took the left direction. Luzi felt stunned at this scene. This wasn't fair. It was very tiring for him to chase after the two. Luzi didn't use full power when he unleashed his stark crippling punch before. He feared he would end up killing them with one punch. Now that they were running, things became different. He looked at Jace's direction. This guy seemed to have a good recovery skill. He probably wouldn't die with a full-powered punch. If he did, then it was his bad luck. Consequently, Luzi punched out ferociously. Rumble. The clouds were shaken away as a dark fist force headed toward Jace. Jace just felt he was immersed in cold water. He quickly covered himself with a green crystal membrane and then crossed.
BP. Putang inang. Last game turun.
Crossed his hands before him. As soon as he did this, a few meter thick black fist force crossed more than 10 kilometers and landed fiercely on his body. Rumble. His body was violently thrown away, penetrating through several mountains before eventually stopping after he was embedded on the wall of a cliff. When Luzi came to him, he was covered in blood and unconscious. Luzi nodded happily after seeing this. Good he was not dead. This still took nearly 10 seconds. Fire had run out for more than 100 kilometers by now. At this moment, Luzi sealed Jace just like Conan. Thereafter, he charged after Fire. Fire had fire god art, but speed wasn't her strength. Luzi used wings of wind and lightning to slowly get near her. In the distance, Fire could sense the death of her pals. Meanwhile, the demon was still chasing her. Her stomach hurt a lot. Did this demon not know how to be gentle to girls? She was a bit worried when Luzi chased up. Would she be flying upside down like her pals? If so, she might as well commit suicide. Thinking about this, she flew forward with even more strength. From the distance, Luzi suddenly yelled, "Big sister, wait for me, fly slower, let's talk about life." Fire's face went green. She kept running. "Big sister, have you eaten yet? You need to have 3 meals a day and sleep early." Fire was trembling at this time. Her power was at the mortal evolution state already. Did she still need to eat and sleep? You need to drink water if you get sick. Fire. Still she kept flying forward. If she just found another pal, she could let them hold him off while she kept running. Big sister, do you have someone you like? Are you tired? Do you want to rest for a while before running? Do you think I'm handsome? Stop running. Do you hate me? After flying a few hundred kilometers, Luzi finally caught up to Fire. He smiled. "I'm actually pretty gentle. Don't move and let me seal your power. How about it?" Fire gritted her teeth. Her voice went ice cold. "I'm weaker than you. Do it." Luzi smiled. Oh, this fella could understand him after all, otherwise he would have to beat her up again. Wind and lightning god art instantly went into her body, sealing her power instantly. The pain made her face even paler. Luzi didn't care about this. She dragged Fire over to him. Fire gritted her teeth and said coldly, "We all underestimated you." Luzi smiled. "Even I feel that I'm strong. It is no wonder you guys lost." Fire. If she kept talking, she would die of anger. Once more, Luzi smiled. "Tell me about it. What force do you come from? What are you doing here? How many of you are here? Report chapter. Contact to sitemap. Pocket hunting dimension. C339 narcissist. Chapter 339 narcissist. After Luzi fired his questions, Fire looked up and smiled. "Haha, Luzi, do you think I will answer you? Lucy nodded. Oh. Of course he didn't expect this woman to listen obediently. Regardless, he would take her back first, he said. That's fine, I'll take you back to the Dawn system. Thinking about this, he turned on the communicator. Lin Ling teaches Nangong and Chuyu, can you guys hear me? Soon Lin Ling responded, what's wrong? As she spoke, the roars of beasts and explosive sounds could be heard in the background. Thereafter, Nangong Jing's voice could be heard as well. Kid, we're busy right now, what's up? Rumble. Little brother Lucy, do you miss me? Chuyu Hesha's seductive voice soon followed. At this moment, he informed them about the recent events. When everyone heard his words, the atmosphere went silent. Nangong Jing then said, Lin Ling, you're close to me, so I'll come to find you, and Z, you're close to the Fox Demon, go to her. With their power, no one from the underground forces dared to mess with them. However, Lucy and Lin Ling were different. Lin Ling only had power at the mortal evolution state, and this was just possible due to the combat armor she wore. Meanwhile, Lucy was barely at level 2 of the mortal evolution state. If they were ambushed, it would be dangerous for the two of them. She continued, I will contact the defense force and let them remind the reinforcements here. On a barren plain, Lin Ling was wearing white combat armor while holding a spear. Her spear penetrated a void beast at the aperture opening state with 600 apertures. She then said, okay. She frowned. She didn't expect the underground forces to come and stir up trouble. Now she shook her head and headed toward Nangong Jing's area. Lucy nodded at the command. Then I'll bring these three to Teacher Chuyu. Accordingly, he checked Chuyu Hesha's location and flew over with the three. Fire's face turned pale. She gave Lucy a pitiful glance. Lucy, how about I tell you everything I know and you will let me go instead? Teacher Choayu, this name reminded her of Chuyu Hesha. She was one of the strongest young dukes and one who was an expert at seduction. Who knows what would happen once she was in her hands? She couldn't care about the other two. After all, these teams were just temporary ones. They weren't even that close. Lucy glanced at her. She was extremely beautiful with her pale face and pitiful eyes. She was indeed very enticing. However, the Federation was so big and the human genes were constantly improving. There were many beautiful people. He showed a vibrant smile at her. It's okay, your pals need to go over anyways. I can't leave you behind. You'll be so lonely. No need to thank me. I'm a gentle, handsome man like that. Don't fall in love with me or you will get hurt. Fire. Was this guy retarded? Soon Lucy arrived at Chuyu Hesha's location. It was a huge city and most of the tall buildings had collapsed. It looked seriously damaged. In the rubbles there were a few void beast bodies that were a few kilometers long which were laying there silently. There were no marks on their bodies. They seemed to have left peacefully. Lucy flew over and felt surprised. How did they die? Upon entering the city, Lucy found Chuyu Hesha. Next to her were a group of defense soldiers wearing black combat armor. They were busy rescuing survivors from the collapsed buildings. The sounds of wails and cries were non-stop. However, it was already considered very lucky to survive after the city was destroyed. Lucy approached Chuyu Hesha. She was squatting next to a little girl covered in dust. Chuyu Hesha said softly, "Little sister, where is your family?" She looked up at Chuyu Hesha but didn't dare to speak. The disaster happened so suddenly that she wasn't able to react. Chuyu Hesha gently wiped the dust off her face and then spoke to a soldier, "Help find her family." The soldier nodded while looking down. Yes. Subsequently, he immediately ran off. Hearing he would do something stupid, didn't dare to look at Chuyu Hesha. At this time it seemed that her gentle actions recovered the child's lost spirit a little. She looked dazedly at Chuyu Hesha. At this, Chuyu Hesha smiled. "Do you like cherry blossoms?" Cherry blossoms? The girl asked in bewilderment. Chuyu Hesha extended her palm. Pink rays flowed and then turned into pink petals. The petals formed a pink figure that danced in her palm. This beautiful scene made the little girl's eyes widen. Chuyu Hesha smiled gently. "Your eyes are really pretty. It contains starlight." This girl reminded her of Ying Ying and herself. The little girl looked down with embarrassment. Chuyu Hesha smiled and the petals dispersed, leaving behind one pink glowing petal. She placed this petal in the little girl's hand. "This is for you." This petal contained pure spirit force. It could let her grow up healthy. The little girl spoke softly. Thank you, big sister. You're a really nice person. Chuyu Hesha rubbed her face. In that case, can you smile for me? The girl struggled and smiled. Chuyu Hesha smiled too. This smile is your present to me. She rubbed the girl's face. No matter what you encounter, keep a smile. At this moment, a ragged young couple ran over. The woman grabbed the girl and cried. Shiyu mom was so scared. You're okay. You're okay. The young man bowed to Chuyu Hesha and thanked her. Thank you, city charming young dude. Thank you. Chuyu Hesha smiled. You're welcome. Your daughter is very cute.